Kia ora and good afternoon, everyone. Nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to the Taupō District Council meeting. It's gone 1 o'clock, so we might as well kick things off, even though that clock's a bit slow. Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting, 28th of May 2024. This afternoon in the chambers in the Central Business District of Taupo. I believe we're online, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, first up we'll have a karakia and we'll do it all together today. Tuia ki te Māori o te whenua, tuia ki te mana o te tangata, tuia ki te pono te araha, kia piki, kia eki, ki te mātangata, hui tai ki ai. Thank you very much, Councillors. And just before we start, I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of the late Andrew Welsh, former councillor, at least 24 years a councillor. Some of us still around the table remember Andrew well and his contribution to this district, whether it be the arts, business, farming, repertoire, cricket, the whole lot. So we're thinking about you today, Andrew, and his family. So I'd just like to ask for a minute's silence just to remember Andrew. Thank you very much. Thank you. So good afternoon, members of the public, staff, councillors, Deputy Mayor online, and Councillor Rankin online. Afternoon, team. Apologies, do we have us? Councillor Leonard for lateness or for absentee? I'm not too sure. I heard, but over mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carry. Now we're just going to change a few of the items. We've got a late item to add, which we'll deal with first up. So do we need to resolve on that? Yes. This is in consideration of the submission that will go to Wellington for Māori wards and amendment to the Amendment Bill Select Committee. Could I have a mover that we accept that for the agenda item? Thank you, Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. So I might deal with that straight away, if that's okay, or just go to conflicts of interest first. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today at all? No, well, that will move on. So the urgent late item, we have Aidan and David Ramaka. Kia ora and good afternoon, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your time. This has been a little bit rushed, so we haven't followed our usual process. This bill was introduced last Monday, had its first reading on Tuesday, which it passed and went to Select Committee, and they determined there'd be 1 week for submission. So submissions actually closed tomorrow. So with your permission, I'll quickly just cover what the bill means for Taupō District Council, given where we're at. We have drafted a submission, but it's your submission, so I need confirmation that you want to do a submission and your feedback on what you'd like to change, take out or add. But I'll quickly just cover off the approach we took for the draft submission. So firstly, what the bill means. If the bill goes through in a few months' time, probably around August, Council will have to make a resolution. It'll have 2 choices. It will either dissolve the Māori ward, which will apply from the 2025 local government election. So we'll have to do a quick rep review before then, but essentially we'll go back to the way it was prior, which the only real change was 2 elected members for Turangi, I think was the primary change. So the other option is we can keep the Māori ward for the next triennium. So it will apply from 2025 to 2028. But at the same time as the 2025 election, there will be a binding poll or referendum on whether or not we should have a Māori ward. And that will become binding from 2028. And it will be binding for at least 6 years. So those are our two choices. Onto the submission. We know the submission has some sort of costs and hassle for council if we have to do a poll. We know the time frame for submissions is short, but they know that stuff too. So we haven't sort of bothered to raise that in the submission. We've really focused on just a couple of key points. Firstly, that your experience with Māori wards and the elected representatives we've gained, the 2 out of 12, has been really positive, and they've made a valuable contribution to the table. And secondly, and this is what we sort of thought was the heart of the issue, that there is quite a public sort of misunderstanding around why we have a Māori ward. It's not about special treatment. It's very much about ensuring proportional representation at the decision-making table. So again, we're talking about 2 members out of 12 around the table. And because of the quirks of local government voting, there's actually no way that even a significant part of the community can get a seat at the table without a ward system. So even this is recognised geographically, even if we had the entire south, combined with Mangakino, combined with the rural areas, they wouldn't get a single representative unless we had a ward system. And that's because for local government, and this is different to central government, you're allowed to vote as many times as there are vacancies. So if there are 10 vacancies, the whole of Taupō could elect all 10 vacancies, and the other people wouldn't get a showing. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't recognise. We've got a lot of submissions saying they disagree with Māori wards and race shouldn't be a good base for wards, but they don't realise that actually without a ward system, there will be no proportionate representation. And that's all this is about, proportionate representation. So that's the focus of the draft submission. Plus, we've got some feedback in there that we received from iwi about how important the Māori ward is to them, and they appreciate the initiatives we do, but actually having a seat at the decision-making table trumps all that.
Good.
So I would love your feedback on, firstly, that you're comfortable making a submission to government, and I need your feedback on any changes. The next step would be to get the mayor's signature and submit this tomorrow.
Anything to add, Dave?
Probably just a couple of things, and you're probably already aware of this, your worship, councillors, is that Māori ward is the only mechanism that guarantees Māori representation at council's decision-making table. I think the other thing is that you'll also be aware of is that a Māori ward works best, it's an additional enabler of Māori participation in the decision-making process, so it's not a substitute for enduring ongoing relationships and the partnering approach that we've adopted as our I guess, modus operandi across our organisation.
Okay. Any questions or queries, councillors? Councillor Lachlan and then Councillor Williamson.
What was the estimate of cost for doing the poll or whatever? Having a whole one?
Would you know what ballpark figure?
Poll would be
40,000?
Yeah, I think we had a high level estimate of something around 40,000.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Worship. Just make a comment to say congratulate on a well constructed submission to Aidan and Nick and your team. Just want to make a comment in support of the submission in terms of that. We talk about local democracy, and there are people out in the community that perhaps suggesting this is undemocratic, but my personal point of view, the introduction of Māori wards has added immense value and respect to around the table, and can't undervalue that. So I believe it was well supported by previous triennium, and I think congratulate you on submission.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Park.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to say thank you to the staff for putting this together so quickly too. And we were very disappointed in the last government and what they sort of rushed through and mandated, and now we're sort of going the complete opposite way with it being rushed through and them putting a different slant on things. I completely agree with everything in the submission, but particularly would like to point out that in the Taupō district, our 2 Māori ward councillors have provided invaluable contributions, and you know, it may be very well that some councils don't have that relationship, but in Taupō we are very, very lucky with our relationships with Ngāti Tūwharetoa, and I welcome them to stay put.
Thank you, Councillor Park. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I don't think I'll be supporting this letter, and I'll just raise a few points here and questions actually. I have some suspicions. I mean, there's an assertion here that it's well, empirically proven that without a Māori ward system, we would not have proportional representation. Yeah, I mean, we've only just had a look at this I've only seen this today, but I just suspect that's quite rudimentary mathematics going on, and I can't, yeah, I can't say whether I completely disagree or agree with that, but I suspect it's quite rudimentary maths going on there. But second point, I mean, I was one of the people gathering signatures 2 or 3 years ago now for a referendum, and my experience, which is fairly widespread, was that roughly 80% of the people would sign this petition, and it wasn't a petition necessarily they were against Māori wards, but they were signing because they wanted a referendum, because they wanted to be able to decide that. And I think having a referendum is an opportunity to broadcast the benefits and value of the Māori ward system to the community, and actually letting them decide, because I think this was imposed on Taupo constituents whether they liked it or not. And I'm not completely for or completely against them. I've never seen a compelling argument for them, and I think the public deserves to hear it, really. And I mean, if it's of benefit here, then why isn't Auckland going for it and having all sorts of different wards on ethnicities up there? Indian, Samoan, Tongan, why not? Where does it end? Sorry?
They don't have a treaty.
I would be interested in, well, I've had a good feel that the public overwhelmingly would want to decide this for themselves, and that's how I feel about that, and I think a lot of people would agree.
The Campbell. Councillor Rankin.
I was one of the councillors who voted against Maori wards based on our democracy, which I absolutely and utterly believe in. However, the value of our 2 Maori councillors has been absolutely and utterly exceptional, I think. I've loved having them there, and they've enhanced our knowledge and the kind of advice we get about lots of things. So while I still hold on to the democracy that I've always believed in, I do support the submission, and I'm really happy to let it have its outcome wherever that may be.
Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Any other? Councillor Truman.
Just following on from what Councillor Duncan has just talked about, 80% of people would be against this. So according to this, we've got 19% of our voting population is on the Māori roll. So why should 80% decide what the 19% of Māori voters should have, if they should have seats or not? Why is it? It should only be up to the 90% of Māori voters who they want to vote for and how many seats they want. Should be up to the rest of the population. That's how I see it. I'm totally for this, totally understand the journey that we've gone through to get this far with our Māori partners. We also have Māori seats or at all of our local rep groups to try and get that Māori voice, because we realise the value of it. And yeah, going forward, I see this as such a crucial step for Aotearoa New Zealand, and to go backwards would be a huge mistake.
Still Westerman.
Second year councillor, and I was absolutely proud to be in the council when this was supported and put through. It's an absolute no-brainer, and because you have some twats down in government who think that they know better and pull in the change of policy at a very last minute is crazy. Anyone who supports it, quite frankly, needs their head read. But I'm a little bit strong on it. Look, we are a proactive council. We've led the charge on this, and again, I just totally support the submission that's been put through, and thanks for the work that's gone into it very quickly. Just shows where we are in New Zealand as a council.
Thank you, Councillor Westerman. Councillor Greenslade.
I've got nothing to add to what my councillors always said, so I won't gild the lily. I do support all my councillors and over the same Māori ward, particularly for this area. And I'd like to congratulate whoever put the letter together. I think it expresses our view very, very clearly, and I think also the fact that what are we talking, 15 years across New Zealand now supporting this, and I think that is what full representation. If you look at how many people across New Zealand, those 15 years actually represent the very, very significant New Zealand. So fully support the submission to fully select committee.
Thank you, Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just to respond to those other ones as best I can. Certainly, Councillor Westerman, I mean, I think central government, they would, from their point of view, I think they are sticking up for local democracy, and I more or less go along with that point of view. And as to Councillor Greenslade's point that we've got all these mayors signing up on behalf of councils, I mean, if they absolutely represented what the constituents of all their councils believed, well, that would be true. That's an overwhelming support, but I do not hold that at all. Just because the mayors of some councils have signed up for this. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I'm not the mayor. No. I mean, certainly, if the mayors represented people of New Zealand, yes, but I wasn't asked, and it doesn't represent my.
Councillor Williamson.
Just response to Duncan's comments. I think the measure of democracy is once every 3 years, and I think obviously a previous council that voted for the Māori wards, without going on a limb here, they supported the Māori wards, and the work actually supported back onto council. So I think that's a testament to the actual support from the community, in my view, anyway.
Very good.
I'll just to respond briefly, Councillor Williamson. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I mean, everything on their last election didn't ride on whether the decision be made to make Māori wards or not. So I mean, that's one of many issues, and some people felt hotly about it. A lot of people weren't too fast. So I mean, I don't think that necessarily means that meant overwhelming support anyway.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm supportive of all the councillors that have talked to this submission, supporting this submission. I think two representatives have excellent contribution and been amazing for my office to be able to have that insight and that knowledge around the table. I think has been incredible, and feel very fortunate to be in the situation where made some good decisions on based on good information. So very happy of the submission, and thank you, Aidan, for putting it together, and David, truly appreciate it. So you have a further comment? You happy to move, Rach?
No, I do have a comment.
Yep. Councillor Shepherd.
I said, well, our job as district councillors is to make decisions in the best interest of all residents. In my experience as a first-term councillor, Māori wards have provided measurable benefits district-wide. The current system has a vote for the mayor at large and voting for your ward representation, which to me is a very fair way of doing things. I think what the system we have currently with Māori wards aligns with that, and yeah, in my opinion, we're heading in the right direction. The submission has my support.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Oh, sorry. Oh, Christine, Councillor Rankin.
No,
you
I'm
still
so sorry, I didn't take my hand down. Apologies.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problems. All right, one last comment, Councillor Campbell, and then Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, through the chair, look, I think if the majority of people here feel so strongly and are able to put that sort of their beliefs in writing to the people, why not trust the people to decide rather than the few people here at this table?
Oh, you're good. Okay, so the recommendation is up there, 1 and 2. We need some volunteers to select to present the submission. I'm certainly happy to do that alongside the deputy, perhaps. Deputy, are you okay?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, cool. Okay, sorry, I'm self-appointing myself here, but the council's got support of, I think, yeah. So 1 and 2, could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Greenslade. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Staying on the grounds of not enough information.
Would you like that recorded, Councillor Campbell? Okay, thank you very much, Aidan and David. Right, we'll go to the confirmation of the minutes, ordinary council meeting that was held on the 30th of April, 2024. Do I have any points of clarification of those minutes, please? No, could I have a mover for those minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Shepherd, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. The ordinary council meeting 4.2 on the 3rd of May. Any clarification of those minutes? Have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Greenslade, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. 4.3, the extraordinary council meeting, which was held on the 23rd of April. Any clarification of those minutes? No? Could I have a mover, please, then? Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Truman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. 5.1 is adoption and approval of plan change 38 and 40 to 43 decisions for notification. Hilary Samuel. Good afternoon, Hilary. How are you?
Afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. Very nice to be presenting this item to you today after quite a few years of work on this. I'll take the item as read for just a couple of, I guess, clarifications. Within my item, I have listed out a number of amendments or changes that were made to the plan changes. I just wanted to clarify that these were made throughout the entire hearing process by both our reporting planners, and then the commissioners added in a couple of little changes at the end as well. So there was very little that came through in the commissioners' decisions that we were unaware of or surprised about. So those changes kind of capture all the changes that were made through the hearing process. And second thing is just process from here. We are just in the process right now of putting all of this into the plan, into the E-plan, which just takes a wee bit of time just to make sure all the linkages and connections are correct in the mapping. So we've just allowed ourselves a little bit of time to make sure that's all 100% correct. So we're looking at notification, provided you give approval today, on the 14th of June. And then that will take us through to the end of July for the appeal period, the 30 working day appeal period. So that's all I had, but
Oh,
obviously,
thanks.
any questions?
Thank you, Hilary. Any questions for Hilary? Okay.
So I don't have any questions, just want to once again congratulate the work. It's been a slow, long burn over this last 2 or 3 years, I suppose, little years to get to this, and just commend you on the outcome. Also acknowledge Councillor Taylor and Councillor Westman, their roles on the hearing panels as well to get to this point. It's awesome. Well done, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Orange. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and please excuse my voice. That's why I'm not in the chamber at the moment. I just want to echo Councillor Williamson's comments, but I would say the work that Councillor Westerman and I had to do paled into insignificance compared to what Hilary and the team have done behind the scenes. I just want to put on the public record the incredible amount of work that's gone into this. It's been a very long, very detailed journey, and the paper in front of you is a fraction of the material that's been poured over in detail, word for word, line for line, for the last couple of years. So I just want to thank Hilary and the entire team for the amazing work they've done.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other questions? Agree, Councillor Westerman.
I just was on the fault line committee, and it was a really interesting experience. Thanks very much. I got the easy job, and I think Kevin got all the hard ones. But the commissioner, the head commissioner, did recognise at 6.18 for the fault lines that there was a little bit more work that he wanted council to look at in regard, I think it's on page 50, to ensure that the mapping process was complete. Did you pick up on that?
My understanding is that in his view that the preference would have been that the new faulting information was included within the district plan. It was a bit of a tricky process, this one, because the plan change scope was simply removing the old fault lines. And so it was difficult for the panel to go much beyond that. And I guess that's a decision that we'll need to come back to the council at some point. Our recommendation was that the information that we have got, we can sufficiently manage through the Building Act and the subdivision process, the risk to buildings and life. And we have gone through a pretty thorough process to feel comfortable with that. But that may be something, given the advice from the commissioners, that we may need to revisit at some point with you in our next bundle of plan changes or beyond. The biggest reason that we have done it like that is because of the exact situation that we're in at the moment, with out of date old fault lines that are in the wrong place and having to go through an entire plan change to then update them to bring new fault lines into the plan. We haven't got the entire district's LiDAR data, which is the new technology we use to map fault lines. And so by leaving them outside the plan, we can update them still within our mapping systems. We can update them whenever we like, so that we can add that into LIM data and ensure it's taken into account for building and subdivision processes. But we can talk about that further at another point.
Thanks, Hilary. A massive amount of work there, and appreciate that your input particularly to get that across, and the amount of queries that came through that whole process. So well done, thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Just a question, incorrect fault lines, is that they were incorrectly mapped in the first place, they moved, or?
It was just based on the best technology we had at the time. So fault lines at that point were mapped off aerial photography. And that was all we had back when those fault lines were mapped. Now we have LiDAR information, which means they still use aerial photography as well, but they use a combination of aerial photography and LiDAR data, and it's much more accurate. And so some of the fault lines that were mapped back in the 1990s were in incorrect places just because of the technology that we had at that point and the quality of aerial photography as well.
Very good. Nothing else? No other questions, Hilary? Cool. Well, pretty straightforward. Comes down to the recommendation there. And just endorse all the complimentary comments around the table. Hilary, please pass on our regards to your team and that. And I'll be looking for someone to move this recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Lachlan. Seconded by Councillor Westwood. Yeah. Oh, Councillor Park? Yep. Cool.
Commission.
Okay, of course. Yep. Yep. So moved by Councillor Lachlan, seconded by Councillor Park. No further commentary. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carry. Thank you. Thank you, Hilary. Okay, item 5.2, adoption of the draft community funding policy 2024 and draft eligibility and assessment framework 2024 for consultation. There you go.
Mouthful.
Lovely, lovely. Good afternoon, team.
Afternoon. Thank you all for your time today. As you will have read today, our paper seeks your approval of the proposed community funding policy and the proposed community funding eligibility and assessment framework for consultation alongside our long-term plan consultation period in June. As you also know, we have a range of funds available to support communities, and our focus has been on making sure that support is given in the right way. We met with you throughout 2023 and earlier this year to discuss our approach to community funding after it being clear that the economic environment and the needs of our communities has changed significantly since we last reviewed the policy in 2021. With a priority of our council focusing on building capability and capacity, as well as supporting community-led development approaches, we've together identified an approach or a proposal to develop our funding system to support greater efficiencies across our processes and allow for us to better support and build capability alongside community groups. Just a note, we've also considered this approach alongside other funding opportunities that are available across the district. And we've also had a look into what other councils are providing across the country. Feedback that we've received from a number of community stakeholders. Throughout these discussions, we identified the significant gaps across funding opportunities that really allow groups the time and the space to build their capability and capacity. Over the number of workshops that we held with you previously, you gave the direction that you wanted our community funds to focus on ensuring funding supports communities by providing a hand up and not a handout, recognising our longer term strategic partners, identifying opportunities for administrative efficiencies, introducing mechanisms or developing our mechanisms that ensure our funding system and allocation occurs in an open, transparent and consistent manner, and aligning our funding opportunities to the community outcomes that we as an organisation are trying to achieve. So in the proposal, there's some high level changes that I'll just cover off. That includes changing the types of funds available to the community and their purpose, including introducing a new fund, which we're calling the Accelerator Fund. So that's the one where our team, our community engagement and development team can work really closely alongside these groups to build their capacity over a couple of years and set them up for longer term success. We are really lucky that we now have that capability within council. Another high level change includes aligning our investment priorities to council's strategic goals and introducing a clear assessment and decision making process. What we're not proposing to change in this agenda item today is the total amount to be distributed to council's community funds. This, as you know, this is decided through the LTP process. And following consultation, hearings and deliberations, it's your decision to allocate a dollar amount to this program. Just an FYI, the amount allocated under current budgets is $600,000 per year. Under one-off funds, we are proposing that funding is directed specifically towards the Mangakino-Pouakani grant, the Turangi-Tongariro grant, and the Taupō East Rural. So this doesn't mean that groups who have previously applied to, say, the Social Service Fund or the Community Sports Grant or the Fund or the Creative Taupo Fund won't be eligible for funding. It just means they apply to a different place. And we're also proposing to continue with our strategic partnership fund to recognise key strategic partners that council needs to have a strong relationship. In terms of what next steps look like, consulting on the draft policy and the assessment framework, it's really that opportunity to go out and hear and talk with our community and hear their feedback about what they want community funding to look like and how they want to access it. We can then refine our policy if and where required. And just a note as well, we are continuing to speak with and support affected community organisations to navigate these changes, because it is a change and it does create some uncertainty, but we are doing a lot of work behind the scenes with the comms we're putting out and meeting with specific groups. And thank you for those who have been involved as part of those conversations as well. So I'll take the rest of the item as read, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. And Philip, good to see you. Councillor Park.
Thank you, Worship. Since I've been at the council table, it was sort of when a former CEO restructured and community engagement and development came out, and 3 years ago the structure was changed and community engagement and development had been brought back into the organisation. And I think just with without bringing personalities into it, but with the wonderful work that you guys are doing, we can see that there's been a bit of a shift. And I think that, unfortunately, hate harking back to COVID, but with COVID and not being able to run community hubs and facilities the way that they were, and having to streamline what we were doing at the time, it showed that things can be done a different way. And I've always believed that our communities and relationship grants haven't quite worked, because they were meant to be a 3-year fund that helped facilitate them to become self-sustaining, and that hasn't quite worked. They keep coming back. So I think we need to change how we do that to make sure that they grow and they succeed. And this is what it's about. It's not about trying to take money from anyone. It's trying to help people be better at what they do without relying on the ratepayer in the long term. So I completely support this change, and I completely support that although there may be some uncertainty in the community, I would much rather see administration funds be used to be given to people to utilise in the community rather than for the back office work, considering the technology and the change in the Taupō District Council staff structure 3 years ago. So thank you, and I support and am happy to support with any hard conversations that are going to happen, because this is our grassroots, this is what hurts, and this is where it all starts for our kids. So yeah, just let me know what I can do.
Thank you, Councillor Park. Any other questions? Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, a huge amount of work's gone into that, and I have been involved in some of it in the community, and I know the engagement that you have undertaken at the very grassroots level, which is always important, because of course it gets feedback from everybody across the community, not just from me sitting here. I've got a few notes here that I've made. Do you know how long we've been distributing the 600,000 for, the lifetime of that?
Oh, just through the chair, it used to be just over 500,000 and it increased maybe 2 triniums ago, but I mean, that's okay. Just a figure.
Yeah, okay, that's great, thank you. So, and I note from what you said that the council's decision to allocate that amount of money through the long-term thing, but that answered that question. I'm just a little concerned about saying that you're going to work with community groups, and after 3 years, you know, there's a reliance expected of them to sort of be standing on their own. I would just make the comment that we are not Otrahonga, where a wealthy farmer donated $10 million to build their new medical centre. We don't have wealthy farmers in Turangi, and the people that are called on in Turangi are always the same people. And I think we recognise that everybody's under a bit of pressure at present. So I'm hoping that that's not a closed shop, so to speak, and that perhaps that support might go on longer than the 3 years. I note that the Accelerator Fund is for a period of 3 years, but the strategic relationship one will go on longer than that.
So all of, none of our funding can be committed past the 3 years past the LTP.
No, I realise that, but you know, I wouldn't like to think it was the message went out to our communities that after 3 years you're on your own. I'd like to think that there is still that opportunity for people to be able to put their case forward to us for, you know, what you're doing in the community, which in pretty much every case is really important, that this work that they're doing. I'm just looking for my notes here. The other thing that I wanted to note was that the council's staff involvement and applications will be graded on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score. And funding will be distributed to prospective applicants starting from the highest score to the lowest score until funds are allocated. So is it the council officers who are going to allocate the 1 to 5 score?
That's the proposal.
Right, okay, so then the panels will be made up as they are currently of councillors?
Yeah.
So where's the leeway for councillors to make a decision if you're
So-
not particularly in agreement with the 1 to 5
So
score?
it's a recommendation that we're putting forward to you based on the assessment criteria that you would adopt.
Yeah.
It's not something that would necessarily be set in stone.
Right, right. Okay.
And you would also be deciding on the dollar amount.
Yes, of course.
Yes, so through the chair, so council officials will be doing the vetting process based on that scale, which is transparent for everyone.
Yeah.
Then we recommend to councillors who should get the funding based on that score.
Certainly support that, because actually it's very difficult being on one of those committees and perhaps not always having the full story. And so for council officers to go through and get a fuller picture, and as you say, transparency is going to be very helpful on that, those committees. Yes. And I'm just checking to make sure that those are all questions I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Greenslade. Right. Anything else further to add, Brian, Philip? Okay. All right. We're happy with that. Turn forward there. Approves the draft community funding policy. Everyone happy? Could I have a mover? Thank you. Councillor Greenslade. Seconder. Councillor Clark. All those in favour, please say aye. Against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, 5.3 road maintenance renewal and network management of the Taupō District Council road corridor for the next 5 years. Yes. Cheap discount. And this afternoon we have Lizzie, Zelda.
Okay.
Good afternoon. And Roger. And Tony. Oh, not Tony.
I've got every confidence in the team here, but happy for any questions that come my way.
Good afternoon, guys. Nice to have you all here.
Afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present today. Yes. So yes, to just start off, today we are here to present the item of the new maintenance and corridor contract. As you would remember, we had a workshop with council a few months ago, about 2 or 3 months ago, stating our intention to go back out to tender. Our current maintenance contractor is called Inframax, and they are finalizing their 5-year period with us. We have discussed this with Waka Kotahi for the last almost 9 months, who has been in support of the decision to go back out to tender. And today we are here with the outcome of the tender, the procurement process. So I thought, through you, Chair, should I first maybe just have a quick presentation to take you through it, or do you want to start by just asking questions from the paper that you have received already?
Just quickly, I think it won't do any harm.
Happy with that? All right, we will start by saying, what does this complex contract include and why? As you can recall, the conversation in the workshop was related to committing to a contract before the long-term plan has been finalized and adopted. The intention with this contract was to bulk it up. It was to combine investment streams, allowing us to activate economies of scale. It was allowing us to it gave us the opportunity to have more of a holistic approach to our assets. And of course, not being one of the biggest councils and our neighbours with Waka Kotahi on our state highways, making sure that we become a priority in the industry when we are competing with materials and products and labour and resources. The contract has come in at $79 million, which works out to 15.8 million per annum. But this is a combination of operating costs, cyclic costs, maintenance, renewal, and capital. And then, of course, our favourite, cost fluctuation. What does this actually buy us for the next 5 years? I'll start with the item operating and cycling costs. That accumulates to, well, that works out to about $3.4 million per annum. It's 22% of the 79 million. And why split added in the cyclic cost from the maintenance cost to the specific item is because that's what I always call the first line of defense when it comes to safety and intervention on our network. So those rates are paid monthly, and it includes basic operations. For example, driving the network, seeing there's a pothole and actually filling the pothole until we get to the point of planning what is the maintenance, which is your next item, maintenance intervention to prolong and keep the life of the asset. So in your operating and cycling cost of 17.2 million over 5 years, that includes all of our health and safety, traffic management, quality assurance, incident and emergency planning. And then one item that's very important to me in this maintenance contract is the strong emphasis on asset management. So programming, etc. And then cyclic would be for all of our maintenance activities, but basically, like as I mentioned, your first line of defense. So it is your standing up of the regulatory sign, making sure that things are actually safe on the network to operate. What is included in our maintenance item? That's about $3.7 million per annum. And this is, yes, where we actually make sure we go in and we proactively maintain our network and not reactively. This is where programming and planning and packages of work comes together. In our existing contract that's ending now, we had a portion of renewal in the contract, which was just resales. In this contract, to bulk it up, we've included rehabilitations, and that comes to about $5.4 million per annum. But what is really exciting is that we were able to go into the tender and the procurement process with a clear forward works program of our biggest expenditure, which is the pavement renewals. And so there's heaps of other detail behind this, but this basically procures the immediate link road, Broadlands, Lake Terrace, Terahunga, Aranui Street, everything listed there, for, and the rehabilitations on sections. This also includes what we call a birthday seal for our road network, which means that we look after our asset and do not wait for it to deteriorate before we reseal our pavement. In here also, you will see that this includes footpath renewals and curb and channel renewals. Now, to keep the contractor a little bit interested and making sure we get hold of their construction crews also that isn't necessarily always based in Taupō, with the maintenance contract, we added a bit of capital. Why this also makes sense is that the capital expenditure relates specifically more to the widening and the safety improvements of, for example, Broadlands, Poihipi and Te Rohanga, as we've submitted in the long-term plan. So the widening component of it is considered capital, and at the same time, we will be doing the rehabilitation, which is the renewal portion. So this makes sure, this enables us to not have to pay establishment twice and make it more affordable. This would also include the seal extensions of Baker Road, Pukatapa Road and Waihaha Road. Day works, I don't want to necessarily elaborate on this too much, but why day works is 4% of this value is that this is the part of the schedule of quantities that we use to implement our emergency response and accident incidents, assisting the fence and police when there's accidents and things on our site. But this is also our emergency for example, when Cyclone Gabriel hit. This also relates to ice gritting of our roads and all of our after hours services. Cost fluctuation looks like a lot of money. I want to specifically identify that we, in our renewal budget that we put forward or request for funding, that basically has seen a 200% increase in output for renewals. Hence it being a higher value for cost fluctuation. And then of course we all also know how much it has increased in the last 3 or so years. So it looks like a big amount of money, but the value that you will see next, which is in the long-term plan, was uninflated. So what does that really mean for us now? What this really means is that we received the tenders, and the market has responded very similarly. So a full tender offering for the suggested contractor as per the document you have in front of you, unescalated, so without the cost fluctuation, is at $73 million for over 5 years. And when it is related to the renewals and the capital investment and the operating and cyclic costs, as you can see, those items, those fall totally within our estimate and within what we've requested in those buckets of money. One where we would, which aligns with our strategy, with my strategy and our team's strategy, is to become more proactive than reactive, is that we would have to refocus our spending to ensure that we maximize the funding and efficiently plan to preserve our asset life through the maintenance portion. The maintenance portion has proven that it is far more expensive in the industry and the market today to maintain than what it was, of course, 5 years ago with the contractor that we appointed at that time.
Very good.
Is that too much?
Okay, any questions pertaining to the pie chart? Pie chart. Think of the graph. Pie chart. Councillor Park.
And thank you. And there's never too much information when you're dealing with the figure. $79 million, even though 51% is the NZTA.
Correct.
I understand that. And thank you. Your presentation actually answered my question under the financial considerations. So just about around the comfort around what was an LTP versus actual inflation, etc. But one thing I just wanted to ask is, I know that another company had this contract for 5 years on Picken beforehand, but they didn't retender. And it was, they were invited to, obviously, and it was just a choice. Okay, that's fine. It's just, just thinking about families and people and whatnot. I was just wondering what that was, but obviously we want best bang for buck and the best people for the job. So I have total faith in your procurement process. Thanks.
Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Richard. Just following on from Councillor Park's comments, I am hoping that there is something in this contract that talks about subcontracting local employees for this district, and we have got some of this money coming back into our families in this area.
Yes, correct. So firstly, I'm going to take you through the list of subcontractors that Head Construction has put forward that they would be using. The first would be for traffic management and vegetation control and science supply, etc., which is has got local crews already staying in Taupo. That is called Combined Road and Traffic Services. The next subcontractor is Intergroup, which has got a branch on Rokanui Road. And then a very exciting one is Lakeland Excavators, which is fantastic. And so they will not only necessarily help with footpath renewals and maintenance and cartage and all those things, but they also is seen as an additional resource and boots on the ground type of resource. One of the subcontractors, which yes, it is a high investment that's not local, is Highway Stabilizers New Zealand, and they are basically responsible for the road and pavement stabilization works. There's nobody local who would be doing that, irrespective of what contractor was put forward as the successful contractor. There isn't anybody local. Then I want to take you to broader outcomes in their submission. They presented in their interview, which we requested 5 of their senior leadership that would be in Taupo, and the rest of all of the other boots on the ground and people will be employed locally. They are planning, and in their submission, and that's something that I'm very particular about, a submission can also be a lot of sales talk, and it's up to us to make sure that it actually comes to fruition. That 90% of their materials and resources will be procured locally. Yeah, I'm sure we are allowed to share the piece of the broader outcomes if you would want to have a look at that. But what this contractor is very strong on is also training, going to your colleges and asking for people that they can take from the college and train for the next 2 years. There's heaps of data and detail to it. Again, it is up to me and the team to make sure what they've promised that they execute.
Thank you very much. That sounds very encouraging, and certainly I'm sure the families and the people in our district will be very, very pleased to hear that.
I would also think so, yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Thanks. I appreciate perhaps a lot of the sensitivity around negotiating with the tenderers, with the prices, but it seems like $22 million major variations, probably not unusual when you get tenders for various projects, but with somebody too busy to work with. Obviously, is there any particular aspect of that pie graph there that is extraordinarily high or different to the other ones? I know you probably can't.
And that was what was particularly reassuring when we opened up the prices, is that the 2 tenders that with the similar prices, including one of the other tenders, which was one of the higher ones, if you compare their rates, they're very similar. Here and there, we understand with establishment and establishing new in a district, etc., there's extra overheads. And so, but when you break that down to what the 250 line items on the schedule and you compare those rates, it was reassuring to see that nobody is trying to excessively make money off of specific items. And I do want to emphasize that also, if I just quickly can emphasize this, is that with this contract, what's tricky is that we've got the maintenance pot of money and the renewal pot of money, and we've got the capital pot of money. And of course, we can't gain any extra money from capital if we would reduce that that value and add it to maintenance, because it's different funding streams. From a capital and the renewal perspective, they were bang on our estimates. In actual fact, on the renewal aspect, there's probably about 6% play of what I would be able to have during execution in a positive. The one thing that was proven a little bit more expensive than expected but not specific to this contractor, is the maintenance costs. Although, and this is why I emphasize there, during the time of asking or confirming our budgets or request for budget for maintenance for the long-term plan, there is only so much that you can ask for realistically extra on historical spend. And with renewal, we had a very strong business case in being able to say, here's our forward works program, this is where we're going to spend and how we're going to spend it. On maintenance, some of the historical things has been skewed a little bit by environmental maintenance. And so we did not, in the process of requesting even our co-funding to Waka Kotahi, ask for heaps of extra money on the maintenance. So basically that shortfall you see there is what you buy for exactly the same money that what we basically had the last 5 years, just it's more expensive. What this forces us to do, and that is why I split that cyclic cost to the maintenance cost, what this forces us to do is to collaboratively work with this contractor. Again, I emphasize that asset management is a massive focus. To stop being reactive. Stop going and having a pothole that's already past the point of putting cold mix in it. And that is the biggest piece of work after appointment would be to refocus that spending and working together and understanding what that maintenance budget would produce.
Councillor Campbell.
Finish.
May I? Roger just reminded me about the cool technical things that also come with HEB. Not necessarily specific to HEB, but a wonderful opportunity that comes with HEB and with some of the other contractors is that we're getting more cool tech. We're getting artificial intelligence. We're getting vehicles that drive the network and assists with fault finding. That records all these things, that directly moves over to our asset engineering and asset management. So again, that is that reinvesting in the quality and the planning and the asset management, and not just pitching up and picking the edge market poster.
Oh, just a question, LTP question, I suppose. Is there a guaranteed minimum value of this contract for this contractor? Because it's not 73, is it? No.
No. So there's a measure and value contract. So what they produce, what we plan and execute is what they get paid. So no, there's no minimum value.
Oh.
It was very specifically stated in the contract, which I even confirmed with Waka Kotahi's head of procurement in Wellington, that it's similar to every other council and every other tender, is that irrespective of your quantities go up or down on your schedule of quantity, so the amount of work, this does not affect your rates. So what this contractor also specifically done, which is great, is that their execution rate is, for lack of better understanding what other word to use, the execution rate is loaded in the actual physical works. Where some contractors would put up an extremely high investment in saying our P's and G's are this many million to keep us here, irrespective of how much work we do throughout the 5 years. So your P's and G's, your preliminaries and generals, keeps a higher investment, where here you pay for the traffic management, you pay for the safety, etc., for every square meter you actually execute, or each item you actually execute.
Oh, no, I just would have imagined, not having great experience in this field, but I would have imagined that with a minimum guaranteed amount of work, if you told them, if you said the tender is a minimum value of work, then that would be greater certainty, and they would get more guaranteed to be able to invest in that equipment, so that you might get lower rates overall. I mean,
I am very happy I'm not a contractor in this climate, because that was actually something that I specifically again discussed with Waka Kotahi, and I said we won't have an adopted long-term plan. We're just stating our intent clearly in the tender document, but even that intent of spend is not confirmed. And Waka Kotahi confirmed, you look, this is every contractor knows this. This is normal for all of them. This is part of their game. I think preliminary and general costs would look far different if you actually were able to put a minimum to it. But I can't confirm anything until we've got an adopted long-term plan. And the contract that they're signing is specifically related to those items, saying that nothing's confirmed until we can adopt.
Well, probably helps if they're the sole contractor, not one of a few that you could get picked from, because then they could be really stuffed around if they were. No, so, okay, that probably helps. But just my other question about the capital works. So you've thrown in some capital works in there. Does that mean there's room for new footpaths to just get thrown in there at a certain rate, and new traffic islands and here and there? Or not really, or yes, or?
So Waka Kotahi is pretty, NZTA, is pretty specific, rightfully so, about the procurement of new contractors for specific work to make sure that the market stays relevant and that everybody gets a fair share. We added I added $1.7 million in there for over the 5 years to be able to implement some minor safety improvements, etc. So it is obvious you already have concrete rights, you already have curb and channel rights, and all these type of things on the renewals. So might as well put that in there so that if you've got rights in there, you can activate this contractor for minor safety improvements.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, there's some in there, but there's a lot of other capital works that you could have thrown in there.
Yes, I could.
Yeah, but
I could have, we could have, that was a discussion where I was also understandably told to pull back quite a bit because you want to keep the market alive and Taupo, and you want people to be competitive.
Oh, you mean it might have been too big? Oh.
And through your chair, exactly what you were saying, Councillor Rinza, is the families that's with other contractors that's also established here in Taupo, that you run the risk of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Cool. So you've got through 42 minutes without mentioning a traffic cone. Quite impressed.
Just should I mention the cone that's on the roof?
Oh, is it? Yeah, what else? Yeah, Councillor Westman, you go. Yeah, before I what I was going to ask.
Look, and we wouldn't be discussing it unless it was okay, but we're a couple of months out from completing the long-term plan, and here we are needing a decision on a pretty big item. What can you tell me why we don't do it at the appropriate time, and can we legally make a decision today?
Yeah, through the chair, and it was noted in the paper that this contract offers no guarantees and it is subject to long-term plan confirmation. So we're not predetermining outcome, as well as you'll be aware the Waka Kotahi or NZTA announcement is this week on how much funding we'll receive. So yeah, we've done that in a way to safeguard ourselves, but also, as you said, make it clear what our intentions are based on our draft long-term plan.
Yeah, it was just it says it's important that the contract is approved now rather than waiting for the adoption of the long-term plan, which kind of just made me think that it wasn't going to be subject to that.
Yeah, so through the chair, this would be the normal timing where we would have a final long-term plan. So that's probably why it's in line with this timing. So look, not ideal from a timing perspective, but at the same time, the team made sure we safeguarded ourselves from that predetermination and long-term plan processes.
Cool. So get ready. But it's not a final go ahead, but it is a go ahead. Yeah. Any other questions? Sponsorship? They mentioned that anywhere along the way? Of any
Sponsorship?
Yes.
In the sense
sponsorship?
Of co-funding?
No, sponsorship of some of our facilities, or did they offer any?
I think that's not appropriate in this forum.
have that in mind.
I would actually, if it's signed off and all okay, I would love to share their broader outcomes with council.
Yeah.
It also helps to keep us on our toes to make sure what's promised needs to be delivered. That's not just a sales pitch. When it comes to broader outcomes with sponsorships, absolutely put in here. Sponsorships towards individuals, sponsorships towards community, in the sense of social impact, all of it's here.
Right. Councillor Lachlan. Oh, Tony, sorry, did you want to?
Just curious, so we're now on this journey with highly collaborative relationships. Just curious in terms of your reflections as one of the first big ones that we're doing, what your thoughts were on that. Is it still early, too early, or?
I think I'm in a very fortunate position. The previous contract was also actually a collaborative contract. I only, of course, saw the last little bit of it, which is ending soon. And collaboration is successful when you put effort into it, and that is from both parties. So I am this is one of the biggest reasons why I was very particular about going out to tender again, because it gives me the opportunity to start from scratch. And although this might sound a little bit harsh, but working with contractors, it is, you teach somebody how to treat you. You teach them how long that rope is. And so I am very excited to be able to start from the beginning with a new contractor. And collaboration is there where you take responsibilities from both parties. Does that kind of answer your question?
Following up on Councillor Lachlan, when we're exiting the previous contractor, when we exit that project, do we still pay them up until the contract finishes, I presume? So have we had good talks there?
Yes, we had our catch-up meeting on Friday, actually, understanding how this change management would work and closing out of the contract. We would be paying them, of course, for what they've executed up to the very last end of the program, approved program. And then we still have some retentions on some of the renewals work, which should see another 10 months or so, because after the resales, that was a separable portion.
Cool. All right. Tony, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add to Zelda's commentary that the team have been working pretty hard over the last couple of months, going through a pretty rigorous tender process. And some of the wider team are behind us today. So they've been devoting quite a significant number of hours. So and Steph has been working around the fringes on that as well and observing. And we've had an independent NZTA accredited person as well. So taking a lot of burning in the midnight oil to get to where we are today. And also just on that collaboration aspect, that's as good as the people in the room. And certainly we'll be working through with the successful tenderer around kind of a charter and agreeing some behaviours and principles and how we're going to work alongside each other. So that will be a goal, and how we bring the teams on that journey also. So certainly very, very keen to bring you, keep you up to date on how that all progresses, but just wanted to recognise the work that the team have done. You've got a lot of information in the paper. And it is a significant coup with this contractor. They're nationally recognized.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. Those words of comfort. The existing depot here now? Yeah.
They are looking to establish on Rokanui Road. They will be other contractors. So they're looking at, as soon as they have the opportunity to make financial decisions, they will be executing and signing off. And just to add from a collaborative perspective also, in the tender I've requested for dedicated desks for us to also sit back to back with the contractor, that there's no silos, even from the point where a service request comes through.
I'm going down to semantics now, but the downer vehicles have Taupō District Council on the side. Is that a possibility here too? Yeah, just gives you the locals a bit of ownership. That's all.
It does give ownership. It also shows and you want to be proud of who is driving there because then you put the effort into it. So yes, co-branding is part of this vision.
Righty ho, that's one of the bigger ones, and acknowledged Tony and Brian, team at the back there. Thank you, and I presume you've had a subcommittee, Roger, working on this scenario, and you know, it's not an easy process, but sure, yeah, and Steph, thank you very much for being involved as well. Right, Councillor Lachlan, query. You happy to move? It's only 79, but
79.9.
I also round up.
there we go, it's been moved, yeah. Okay, are we ready? Izzy, you happy?
Okay, cool. Thank you very
She
much.
wasn't approved.
Here comes Liv.
You haven't got your speaker on, Danny, I can't hear you. No, that's right. Right, it's been moved by Councillor Lachlan. The recommendation is up there. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Okay. Kevin, okay. Did you, Councillor Taylor, you happy?
I'm happy.
Okay. Right, been moved and seconded. I won't read through it, but it's up there on the board. And I'll ask for all those in favour. Please say aye. Those against?
Aye.
Carried. Well done, guys. Well done. Well done. Go and put the jug on.
Hard work stuff.
The head Christmas tree.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. Right. Oh, here we go, Sarah. Taupō District Council Performance Report for April 2024.
Yeah, kia ora koutou. My pleasure to present this report on behalf of Julie, who is currently on leave at the moment. Look, to be fair, if you look at the commentary of the report, a lot of it's still around the long-term plan with the significant work that's been going in and significant focus for the organisation going into the consultation period, which, as you will be aware, you adopt the consultation document on Friday, which is exciting. So again, quite a heavy theme to that, and then looking forward to that consultation engagement period with a significant number of events held within the community. So that was kind of a good theme again. Look, I'll take the report as read, and I'm happy to take any questions or to the fellow executive who are sitting around at the back there waiting to answer questions.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. You got first up, Jeanette. Hello, Jeanette.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm just going to hand over to Aaron, who will present the financial report.
Thank you, Aaron. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll take the financial summary as read. Overall, the operational results for April were very similar to forecast as was March's, with strong operating revenues offsetting operating expenses that are unfavourable to forecast. We've continued to have strong development contribution billings in April of just over $1.4 million. Total for the year now 6.6 million against the full year forecast of 5 million. So that's great to see some of the timing differences from last year falling into this year to catch up. Cost pressures remain in the Three Waters area of the business, with an unfavourable variance to forecast the maintenance costs sitting at about 900k. Turning over to the forecast, there have been no other approved changes to the year-end forecast since last issued. And then shifting over to capital. So in the month of April, we deployed $5.7 million of funds into capital, bringing the total to $47 million against a revised forecast of 63.1 million. Can I take any questions on that?
Yes.
Questions of Aaron. Thank you. Councillor Greenslade.
Yes, Aaron, on the first page of the report, page 83, you received the Turangi and curb channeling fund of 3.37 million. Is that the final tranche from the government?
Chair, we've got 1 more million by
Right, 1 more million, okay. But, and it's a big but, we have run out of money to finish the work in TA and Annie Street. So looking at our very good income here, I'm thinking there might be some money somewhere that could actually finish that work for those residents in Annie Street who've lost all their trees and still got crappy curbs.
Good Chair, I know Peter Van Niekerk is working very hard with the transport team to identify some additional sources of funding just to complete that.
Thank you, Penny.
Very good. Thank you, Greenstone. Never miss an opportunity, eh? Right, Aaron, any other questions of Aaron? No, straightforward. Cool.
Following on from that, the Treasury report, we'll take that as read as well. The only metric of non-compliance was the investment maturity one, which was the same as previous months, and that's to do with the timing of our cash flows and some lumpy capital projects. So we're trying to be a little bit more agile with funds deployed into our investments.
Okay. Next up, we have Purnell. Thanks, Jeanette, and thank you, Aaron. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Purnell and Travis, good to see you.
Brought Travis because I know we always have a lot of questions regarding OD Park and Wairaki Drive roundabout, particularly in the lead into the long weekend. And I know he'll be actually able to answer many of your questions. But before we go into that, you'll notice we have an exciting new portfolio report. And I'm here to explain any questions you might have about the new report because it is quite a change. Obviously, what we heard is that the audience would like to know more about project budgets and also percent complete in an overall sense, because many of these projects are multi-year. And just as Councillor Greenslade was mentioning, when you are at the tail end or halfway through a 3 or 4 year project, sometimes it's hard to lose track of where you're at. And if you're just getting updates with red, amber, green reporting, sometimes it can be difficult to understand where you're at in the journey of the project life cycle. So we've added in to the right of the report the percent complete and also the overall life budget. So not just this financial year, but the budget associated with the entirety of that project. We also heard that it's important to talk about the status month on month, which is why you'll recall maybe 6 months ago, we added in the previous month status so you could see the change. But we've decided to go back because rather than being caught in a labyrinth of Connect 4, we thought it was much more important to talk about the exceptions, and the exception reporting model really is showing you the differences, which is why we've now got amber arrows, green arrows, red arrows. So how to read that? Because of course we did have quite a lot of discussion about whether or not a downward pointing arrow was meaning that it was bad news, meaning thumbs down kind of thing, or whether in fact it was a reduction in overall risk. And we went with the latter. So where you see a downward pointing green arrow essentially means you've reduced the risk of the project and it's come down from an amber or a red to a green. So that's really the moral of the story. So to go through some of the details just this month, obviously, for the SCADA, for example, SCADA upgrade, your scope amber arrow pointing up slightly, the risk has increased from green to amber slightly, and that's because we've actually included additional components of scope in that, the wastewater pump stations and the step stations. It's not going to increase the cost, but it results in an overall benefit to the organisation having those included in the SCADA system. Similarly with Wairaki Hawker Falls Road roundabout, the time risk has decreased. So you've got a wee arrow there from amber to green. And if you go back over a couple of months, that's actually gone from red to amber, amber to green. So before I hand over to Travis, and I will have one final update at the end, just in regards to the very exciting New Zealand Construction Project Awards. But are there any questions on the report in whole before we go into the detail on 2 projects?
It's a green slate.
Penny, I just want to congratulate you on this. This is really great. So, you know, no questions because all the answers are there. Thank you very much. It's great.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell?
Here's a white budget in blue on the graphs. So just to clarify what it means. So for example, Motuipa drinking water, 3.9 million. So is that scale bar, the horizontal scale bar of the blue, is that saying what the Kinloch drinking 14 million? That's not proportional. That's not percentage or anything. The green bar is a percentage. The blue represents chunk of money. No, I was just comparing.
Through the chair, that's correct. So you'll see, obviously, Kinloch comparison to Motuipa, 14 is essentially this. The size of the bar at that stage is comparative to the size of the smaller bar. So it's not talking about percent complete. It's not talking about percent of overall budget. It's simply comparing 14 with 3.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It's like a bar chart on its side.
Oh yeah. So the horizontal scale of that same Kinloch is roughly 15 million is the length of the bar. But yeah, that's what. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
For now, Gary, what do you got for us, mate?
Well, I'm here mainly to answer questions, but I thought I'd just give a quick update because I do get asked about the Wairaki roundabout. It's a thoroughfare for a lot of people. We're essentially looking at our last significant road closures next week. If anyone that's been out there recently, we've actually are doing the asphalting this week. We're doing a little bit more curbing, which is, we obviously need road closures in place. They could potentially be over this week with road closures, but we're always on a knife edge with the weather. Pernell had commented about the timing. It went from green to amber to green. That was actually largely based on some uncertainty around Unison and work that they needed to do. They're finally programmed in for this week to move a power pole, which was essentially kind of in the middle of what we were building. And so they should be doing that this week, which is why that has switched back to green. The program, while it has slipped a couple weeks, and that was mainly due to the weather when we were supposed to be doing the asphalting, it's actually well within the time that I had set aside for the project, because I think I had us forecast to be completed before end of financial year, 30th of June, and that's based on doing road work in winter. I mean, it's a bit of a lottery, and we have been quite lucky, which is why we were ahead. But with that rain that we've got patches over the last couple of weeks, that's kind of what pushed us behind.
It's open this weekend though, is it?
Oh yeah, it's been open. It's been open every long weekend that we've had. The team have been really good. We've accommodated the Volcanic Epic, the Creators Classic, Greening Taupo Planting Days. So kind of every event that's come along, we've tried to work around them as best that we can. And I think out of that, we were only closed one Saturday to, I guess, make use of time and not push it out further. So, I mean, I'm really happy with that, how the contractors are performing. I think sometimes people see a roundabout and they go, "Oh, it's a circle on a road. How hard could that be?" But that's kind of only a third of what happens. They don't see the high voltage power that gets moved. They don't see the chorus cables get moved. They don't see all the street lighting, the stormwater, the whole change of the road contours to accommodate a roundabout. They see the nice bit at the end. So yeah, I've been quite pleased with how the contractors have progressed. So that's what I have to say about Wairaki. Is there any questions?
I got a hard time this morning, Travis, because when I suggested a sculpture in the middle of it.
Well, That did get floated because it is a tourism gateway. However, in the time of constructing and all the cones and the VMS boards and the lighting that we've had up, we've had 4 cars drive directly through the middle, which has caused rework. So that would have been 4 new sculptures that we need to buy.
Just leave it at the moment.
So
We'll leave it at the moment and come up later on. Too early. As they say, too early.
Dinosaur. Let's be dinosaurs.
Yes.
So
Sorry, next one, Trev.
Okay, OD Park. So the lighting contract, again, I think last time I spoke with you, stuff is happening. You're not seeing it because it's happening in the background. There is stuff on its way. We are actually tying steel down there at the moment. That's kind of the bulk of the work, is getting everything ready to put the foundations in. We should expect to see earthworks on site for foundations in the middle of June. Weather permitting, pouring concrete. Obviously, I'm working very closely with Ben's team and Bryce there to make sure everything kind of works out. We're looking to be finished in August, mid or end of August, just kind of depending on how the weather plays ball. But once the works start on site, it should happen pretty quick.
The lights you're talking about.
Yeah, the lights.
Beautiful. Well done, Trevor. Very good reporting. Oh, Councillor Campbell.
Through the chair, yeah, not a question for Travis, but since it was mentioned in the performance report, yeah, I do have a question. Just want to raise it about Mototeri. I'll say the question first, and I think Warwick might be able to answer it.
Well, is that, sorry, Pernell finish here and Travis, and then we'll go to that. Is there anything else, Pernell?
Two really brief updates. I
Yeah.
guess the first thing is, obviously you may know that the airport won the New Zealand Construction Project Awards. They got a silver award. But we just found out today that we actually, out of 1,000 points, we were scored out of 1,000 points, we scored 895.5, which is 4.5 points off a gold.
Wow, close.
Appeal.
Did you ask for a recount?
Yeah, recount. Just like my school sees that. School sees that.
Yeah.
A lot of big points to count.
Final point, I just wanted to do a little shout out to the 2 people in my team who assisted me with this report, who were gurus in Power BI, Elijah and Joe. So I just wanted to let you know that they've worked pretty hard on this. Last month, just to look back, I know Councillor Greenslade and Councillor Shepherd asked about the rebaseline activities for a couple of the water treatment plants. And the question was, will the rebaseline result in a funding impact for the community? And I just wanted to close out and say, essentially, the short answer is that it will, but that's been calculated into the LTP numbers. So there's no difference this financial year. I guess the really key part is it's the phasing of the work that's dependent on criticality, and that's part of the discussion that we've had with Taumata Arawai. And it's considered acceptable. So even though we still need to get formal approvals, while projects are completed, that's all part of this overall discussion ongoing. So just wanted to close that loop.
Awesome. Thank you, Pernell. Thank you, Travis. Good to see you. Right. Anything else, Darren? Oh, you had a query to
Warwick, I think. So the question, I'll just say the question. I'll say the question, but in the context. The question's a simple question. Is the holiday park owner, Mr. Tilton, well aware of the timeframes for when his a renewed lease will happen, can happen, and has he given any indication to us that he is still able to meet Overseas Investment Office agency requirements and stay in business? So that's the question, and the context is, well, just highlight the declined notice of motion I put through February, March for a 31st of July deadline for staff to get them for a renewed lease to be put in place for the holiday park, and the intention behind that is really a reflection. Well, certainly my appreciation of that business's contribution to the district. And because the owner at that time did state that time frame, 31st of July, in order to satisfy Overseas Investment Office requirements. And I gather it's not achievable, so hence the question, is he aware of the progress and the time frame that something's going to happen, and has he given any indication to us that he will still be able to meet overseas investment office requirements and stay in business?
Did he send you an email, Duncan?
No, not at all.
Okay, question, are you able to answer that, Laura?
To answer it, and hopefully I get everything. Mr. Tilton has been communicated with regularly throughout this whole process. He's actually been at the meetings and the committee sessions as well. The delay that has been communicated back to him, whether he understands that, that's probably a question for him, but we're more than welcome to keep communicating with him throughout this process because he is a key stakeholder in it. In terms of the timeframes, when we brought this item to the council, it was never intended that we were going to meet the 31st of July deadline, and that was part of that works that we had put forward in that paper. The timeframes that we were hoping to get to was around August, but it was around September, but we're probably looking at delaying by about a month. And that's the undue delay because we're waiting for the iwi hapu feedback. But now we've got that and we're back on track.
Through the chair, we actually had a meeting a couple of months ago with Mr. Tilton in the room and also Councillor Campbell present, where this was discussed, and Mr. Tilton was very much made aware that these timeframes would have been met. So I'm just wondering why this issue keeps coming back up, and if that meeting may have been recorded so we can just stop.
Well, Warwick's referring to the notes there.
No, but we all sat in a meeting, your worship, so there might be.
Yeah, I know, but that's what you're referring back to, no doubt. Yeah.
No, through the chair, I mean, I haven't had any communications with Tilton for quite some time, so I'm asking updated expectations, and is it looking like he'll be able to? Well, I mean, he may have been talking to Overseas Investment Office. I don't know what he's.
It's up to him to communicate that.
I can ask him. I'll ask him. I can ask him. I just thought you might have had some idea because that was hence the reason for my question.
Okay, thank you, Warwick, for answering those questions. Very good. Now back to you, Sarah. Any final commentary for?
No, I think that was quite a comprehensive report, I thought, from the team.
Yeah, cool. No problems at all. Okay, we have a recommendation up there that we received report, performance report for the month of April. Oh, right. Thank you. Second by Councillor Fletcher. All those in favour, please say aye. Against?
Aye.
Thank you, Sarah, for filling the role you are. Right, we've got next up, Karen. What have we got? 5.5 council engagements, is it? Are we up to there? Yeah.
Kia ora koutou. So there's been a few changes. So on Tuesday, the 4th of June, there's now a closed police briefing, and the local water done well legislation update has been moved to later in the month. That's just due to the legislation not being out yet. So they just keep shifting to accommodate that. And there's now a Te Papamārearea Māori additional meeting on the 26th of June, which is from 10 AM to 1 PM.
Very good. Thank you, Karen.
That was cancelled.
That was the placeholder that I put in. Yeah, so I put in 2 dates, and I've now confirmed the second date, which was 26 June.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, training conference opportunities.
Oh, there's been more.
Oh, there's been more. Wait, there's more.
Let me just add
Okay,
that on.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
So there's a couple there for myself and Councillor Greenslade at this stage, and one other elected member at the local government New Zealand conference. I don't know whether there's any volunteers.
Sure.
Oh, that's right, Councillor Fletcher.
Oh no.
Councillor.
So the highlighted parts are additional to what went on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll deal with number 2 first. So we're going to add Councillor Fletcher in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe Councillor Fletcher, you have your airfares funded, is that correct? Yes. Might note that. Okay, so that's that one. And then the second one, we've got a request from Councillor Anna Park and Councillor Duncan Campbell. Infrastructure symposium.
Your worship, it's a day-long symposium and I'm going as the chair of a standing committee of council. Do we need 2 councillors for a day symposium? Because if that's the case, then I just think that's a waste of ratepayers' money to send 2 councillors to a day-long symposium. That's all.
The support, there's been a request from Councillor Campbell to go. I'm comfortable either way. Councillor Campbell?
Well, on my own behalf, I'm just expressing a interest to attend because it seems like quite very, very relevant and of interest to elected members. So,
through the chair, I'm going because it's actually part of my portfolio responsibilities and also at a regional and local level. I don't believe that Councillor Campbell has any portfolio interests.
Yeah, there's no policy around this.
Well, it is going, it's actually for the
requested to go. And it's with the support of other councillors. So if I'm hearing any dissension on it, I'm hearing one dissension. But what do the others think? Danny?
What's it cost, your worship, just for context?
Right. Silence is golden.
I don't have a strong view, your worship. Just, I think we try to be inclusive in terms of these opportunities.
Councillor Taylor, come in. Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, your worship. Excuse me, I'm with Councillor Park on this. It's more a question of optics. We're sending 2 people when we only really need to send 1. It's not a good look. That would be my view on it anyway.
Okay, I'll go around the room. That's probably the best bet. So the only way to handle it. Danny, are you okay with 2?
Got 2 strong views that we should be limiting these opportunities to the people that have the portfolios. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say.
That's the green slate.
Well, I take it from a different point of view that I requested to go to the one that I'm going to because it's about localism. And because of my area, I am very interested in localism. If a councillor is extremely interested in infrastructure and they're going to have something to contribute to the ratepayers and the council, then I'm not going to say no, but I think you've got to have an active interest or it's got to be in your portfolio.
I think in the interests of costs that it should really only be a portfolio representative that goes. I tend to agree with Kevin that it's a bit of a bad look and we're giving everybody essentially a note that we're really concerned with the cost of living and prices of everything, and we're going to send 2 councillors to a symposium that really only 1 would be adequate.
Councillor Williams, so you support Councillor Taylor and Councillor Shepherd's views. Just a second.
Councillor Westman?
Same.
Councillor Fletcher?
I really just wanted to comment on the reason why I was interested in going to the local government conference. I understand it's different. I just wanted to, for the public record, I suppose, is that I'm privileged enough to be a part of the Ropu Whakahaere for Te Mariwata, a collective of Māori district councillors from throughout the Motu. They'll be meeting a day before the local conference itself. And as mentioned, and I think as you wanted to minute it, your worship, is that the flights and nights accommodation will be covered by Te Mariwata. So I just wanted to state that claim before moving on into my decision around what I think. I have a tendency to agree if it falls within a part of your portfolio or something you've vested interest in, a portal that you've been nominated to. I believe that we best look for how we've been travelling over the last year or so. So yeah, we'll probably stick to Whakaaro, and I have a tendency to agree with Deputy Mayor on this.
Well, through the chair, I mean, I was never set on it. I mean, engineering being my trade, infrastructure kind of goes along with that, even though it's not a portfolio. But if I make a comment, I mean, I'm all right. I'll go along with the majority opinion here. But I just do want to make a comment on these attendances at these things. I believe there should be more thorough reporting back to members after attending these things. I really do believe that. I've seen examples from other councils where, yeah, there would be a presentation, a report, not on every single meeting we would go to, but on something of this standing, a written report, summation, what was found, what was discovered. Because it seems to me that we go to these things and not all of us get the benefit from it because it's not disseminated very well. So if I can make that a condition of my refusal.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Oh, someone. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, if I could just comment on Councillor Campbell's comments there. Totally support that view and endorse those comments. I think that's a very good idea. In terms of if we're going to add value, then we need to spread it around the rest of us around the table.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, thank you, Councillor Campbell, for making way for one councillor to go. And obviously full reporting will take place when it's Sandra.
I'm going to have a multi-choice question at mine. So if we get good marks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put Councillor Park in there. Number 3. It's that green Pavlova.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know what that is.
Oh, that's
Yes, so
the
am I.
Parks Awards, that's the Turangi-Tongariro.
Yeah, it's awards night. I'm going down with Peter Bradshaw. Is that what it is, Libby? Yeah.
You wish.
I don't know where that Pavlova comes from.
That's been mentioned to us as councillors a couple of times in the last few weeks about you wanting to do that.
Well, yeah, not necessarily wanting to do it, but having to do it on behalf of the district. But it's just that there needs to be someone there, some representation down there. And Peter Bradshaw was going on his own, I think, and so I volunteered. So it's in and out one night. So
We've got a very good chance of winning.
yeah, I think that's what the head office encouraged us to go. So that's cool. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Nothing else. No other changes on the dates. Okay, could I have a mover, please? Move on with these. Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Second by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Okay, we'll just need a mover into confidence now. Thank you, Councillor Park. Second by Councillor Williams.
Like they got used as political representatives.
Yeah.
We can do it best.
Second by Councillor Shepherd. Okay. I think there's some work doing on the portfolio agenda items. Things will work taking place. Is that right, Sarah?
Yeah, I believe, sorry, through chair, I believe it'll be subject to discussion at your elected member day. That you're having come in. That's what I understand.
Cool.
Yeah, Richard, can I just make a comment on that
Yes.
before we go on? I just want to report the thanks of the Waimaori Crusoe residents on their new water main going in. They are very, very grateful out there and they wanted me to let council know that.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Tony, did you hear that? You pass on to the team.
Chair, yeah, I did hear that and I will pass it on. Thank you.
Right, are we in confidence? We'll stop recording. Did I have a movement second today?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Can the legal officer?
Total confidence. Yeah.
Okay, it's just confirmation of the minutes. What date are those minutes?
For the 30th of April.
30th of April. Any points arising from those minutes or clarification of those minutes? No? Could I have a mover for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Rachel. Second by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against?
Aye.
Carry. Thank you. Meeting closed. We'll close off with a final blessing. Thanks. Tēnā hia, te rātou. Thank you, councillors. Thank you.